The college football experience 12-team playoff second round preview and picks episode on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up, and when you do, sign up with that promo code TCE SGPN to get a 50% deposit bonus up to $1,000. We're also brought to you by Rhythm, the leader in data-driven picks and props. Get your free 7-day trial period today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's RITHMM. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. And remember, as always, folks, to let it ride.
This is Mike Leach, head football coach at Mississippi State, and you're listening to SGPN. Let it ride.
Yes. Woo! Welcome to the college football experience. CFP, Rose Bowl, Peach Bowl, Fiesta Bowl, Sugar Bowl predictions. YouTube.com/the college experience. Get over there, hit that like and subscribe. I haven't talked to people in 3 days. I feel what's going on. I mean, this is
what's this podcast business?
Yeah, what's going on out there in the universe? Normally, I'm doing something, even the CFL, USFL, some form of shit. But here we are, college football bonanza that continues with the 12-team playoff. For some stupid reason, decides to no longer go on campus. Now we're at these phony locations. We're going to talk about those games. 4 big games going on this weekend. Transfer portal, batshit crazy. You can count on an episode talking about transfer portal and coaching, in the coming weeks. And I see the chat. Rest in peace, Greg Gumbel. Really? That sucks.
Didn't know that. News broke like in the last maybe half hours. I think it was 78, I believe. Yeah, that sucks.
Greg Gumbel, much cooler than Bryant Gumbel, in my opinion.
Yeah. 10 times cooler.
Yeah. Is that the biggest disparity between brothers ever?
I mean, me versus you, but
set him up for that one.
I did set you up for that. But NC Nick, you're kind of the Billy Ripken of this bunch. Right? you got a T-shirt back there that says "fuckface" or something.
Hold on. What's Peyton's older brother's name?
Oh, it's isn't it Cooper? Cooper
Manning.
Cooper. You're Cooper Manning. All right, you're Cooper Manning over there. Yes. Scooter and Cooper, really, if we're being honest, same thing. Same thing.
Hey, I like Cooper's now that Cooper flag is on Duke. All right, so
there you go.
Don't throw shade at Cooper's out there now.
Bought in for 1 year.
Well, Duke has a rule. Always, no matter who's coming out in high school, if their name is Cooper, they got to take a look at them. All right. This so happened to be the number 1 recruit in the nation. Like,
Tanner Cooper.
As CJ Sullivan says, this is the Raisin Bran double scoop. All right. Folks, hope you had a wonderful Christmas. Happy holidays. Still got a few days before the new year, the new yonder. And we're still short of 15K. So really disappointed that everyone on Christmas didn't go and subscribe and get their family subscribe and
clock's ticking.
Subscribe. Yeah, it's okay. You're never going to hear from us ever again. All right. We'll be on the back of we'll be in the back of like a bowling alley talking college football. Find us. You got to find us. It's going to be like
so different than what we're doing right now. Let's be honest. That might be an upgrade.
Pink Nation says, Colby, if I make all the accounts to get to 15K, can I get some free TCE merch? You sure can, Pink Nation. But how you going to prove it though, brother? You got to take some screenshots. You got to do some videos. I will send you a bunch of shit. All right. Yeah. Anyway, the raise to 15K by the new year, it needs to happen. And currently the Pists are treating us well. I have money riding on Vanderbilt, which I need Vanderbilt to get it done. They're up 14-10 in the Birmingham Bowl. Diego Pavia, the legend. Navy, Oklahoma was a wild one. Navy wins 21-20. Another 6-7 season for Oklahoma, as that's 2 in 3 years. And I should note that now that that has Navy at I believe what
10-3. Wow,
10-3, but also 3-1 against the SEC since the year 2000, with their only loss being a 3-point loss to South Carolina. Now wonder why Tennessee paid Army $1.4 million not to play. I thought it means more. It did mean more. It went $1.4 million more to not play Army 2 years ago. GBO Farms, let me tell you. Yeah, GBO Farms quick to throw shade at the group of five, but hey, wanted to pay $1.4 million and not take on Army. And then I did a deep dive on it. I understand why. It's because the last time they played a service academy, it was Air Force in 2006, 4-8 Air Force against 9-4 Tennessee, and Tennessee won 31-30, but that's after Air Force went for 2 in the win. So in Neyland, I understand 4-win team coming in there. It's a little, UTEP and Kent State are, they don't have 4 wins. So, going for that 4-win team, it's tough.
Are we jumping into the SEC hate before we've even introduced everybody?
Yeah. Yes, look, I've seen we've got some SEC hate, and look, I was getting into a GBO Farm. She's like, you didn't mention that. You never mentioned that that Indiana canceled Louisville. I've mentioned that like 1,000 fucking times on the show, like 1,000 times. But let's be honest, it's not as funny as canceling a group of 5 that does no athletic scholarships. All right, it's just not the same. It's not comparable. Now, West Virginia canceling East Carolina Moneyline Mac.
Oh, he was in the chat too.
That was a pussy move. And I know that wasn't Rich Rod because Rich Rod wasn't there yet, but it's okay. Rich Rod took an L there last time though, as a ranked team. Guys, the bowl games, despite them being, the opt-out situation, quite hilarious. They've been absolute fucking fire. Have you guys been catching these bowl games? Today, the one we had comes down to a 2-point conversion. We had a classic Rutgers Kansas State game where Rutgers blew like a 3-touchdown lead. We had Arkansas State Bowling Green was decent. Pitt Toledo, most hilarious game ever. South Florida San Jose State 5 overtimes. Yeah. I don't even Fresno, Northern Illinois, double overtime, just absolute heat for the streets.
There was 3 games in a row that went to multiple overtimes. Over the course of a few days, but the games have been crazy. There was a couple blowouts, like the UTSA one, which
that was easy.
Locked. I think locked.
Yes.
But speaking of West Virginia, things started off with a bang with Memphis, West Virginia having a great game. And then almost every game has been close. It's been competitive. A couple of games have been a bit chippy. It's been fun.
Yeah, I feel like
bowl season could be relevant once again.
Yeah,
I thought this was supposed to kill it. It's reinvigorated it.
And I know the one that I came at, Pitt and Toledo being a stupid game, delivered like the most classic of games. That's just because Pat Narduzzi can never beat the MAC. You go back and look at the year they won the ACC, they lost to Western Michigan. And that Western Michigan was like a 5-7 Western Michigan. If you put Pat Narduzzi in the MAC, he goes winless. And that's what Pitt needs to join the MAC for a year. If Pitt fans are tired of Narduzzi, join the MAC for 1 year. You'll get fired. He'll get fired after that. Guys, let's talk about the worst in-game coach in all of college football. Nick, did you see this ending?
At that point I had turned it off, but I saw the highlights, and we should come to expect it at this point.
One of a kind.
Isn't that the exact thing you did a few years ago? Basically being at the goal line, and
I think it was worse because you're in a meaningless game. The one you did a few years ago was at Penn State week 2 or 3 or something. Like this one was. It's like, who gives a fuck if you
go for the win.
Yeah, what are you doing?
At least Oklahoma had balls and went for 2 against Navy. Go for the win. Come on, do we really need to send it to overtime? Because it is a meaningless game. So go for the freaking win, man. Come on.
Especially after your team was fighting pregame, you should be like, oh fuck this team. Let's send a message right here. Just one of the most hilarious outcomes. If you didn't catch that game, folks, that's available there, even though it is at filthy Ford Field. Hilarious game. And even questionable coaching for my guy Niumatalolo in the San Jose State game. Don't understand why you decline certain play, but the games have certainly delivered. And we got a few more. Before we jump into the college football playoff picks, I want to talk about a few other bowl games that we got going. But before I do that, I want to let the good people know that we are the College Football Experience, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Check out the SGPN app. You get all of our picks, our podcasts, our articles, all in one place for free. Just type in SGPN in the App Store, Google Play Store, hit download, and let it ride. We're also brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Pickup is one of the biggest menus for all the sports. You can win up to 1,000 times the amount of money you enter with Underdog streaks. Underdog is always making it easier to win with profit boost and gimme pick'ems. There's college basketball, college football, NBA, NFL, and NASCAR, MMA, everything. You can now use specials and boost on all flex entries as well. So sign up, and when you do, sign up with the promo code TCE SGPN to claim your special pick plus first time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com promo code TCE SGPN. I wanted to touch on one more thing before we get to these few other bowl games. You know, everyone's I've seen multiple people tweet out the it's that time of year where everyone's hitting the portal and how terrible it is. These small schools are never going to be able to stay, actively going and winning, and they're never going to keep their players. And Mr. Pate was saying, I know there's few, there wasn't just him, that, the portal era has killed Cinderella, and John Sumrall, he stayed at Tulane and now his star quarterback and running back left. I don't know if you guys saw Mekhi Hughes hit the portal today, but and Hort, their QBs, both their QBs actually have already left. But yeah, Ty Thompson's going to leave. I mean, he's in the portal. I don't think he's landing anywhere yet. But how are you going to say that on the eve of you're a few days away from catching Ashton Jeanty and Boise State playing, who he almost won the Heisman Trophy, turned down several big time offers. I just think like this is another narrative that's just not researched much. Dude. They start Cam Camper. You know where he's a transfer from?
Indiana.
Yes, and he was really good at Indiana.
And
at the
this is a year where Indiana, SMU, Arizona State, and Boise State made the playoff. I mean, those aren't your traditional powerhouses. Yeah. So for him to say, I mean, even if, three of them are now in power conferences, I mean, who cares? It's not Florida State. It's not Michigan. It's not, teams like that. So that's kind of
making
crazy
the playoffs.
Yeah.
Makes Cinderella alive. Just being there, you're alive more than.
And it's a two-way street. They're like, oh, they're losing these great players. Well, UNLV got Ricky White from Michigan State. And guess what? I was at Mountain West Media Days. Ricky White was saying, after 2 years at UNLV, that a lot of schools offered him money, but he was content. He'd done the big school route. Same could be said for Fowler Nkosi at Colorado State and Torrey Horton, right? Who, I mean, they hadn't even done the big school route. They just got offered. They elected to stay at Colorado State. But also, you have a ton of these. The running back from Memphis, I'm drawing a blank on his name right now, came over from South Carolina. Is it Addison? Is it Mario Anderson? Anderson. Yeah, Anderson. You look everywhere. ECU's fucking quarterbacks. Michigan State and a Miami transfer. You know what I mean? Like, what are we talking about here? I think it's just a classic overreaction. The system's working fine. It's working absolutely fine.
You can also point out Malachi Nelson, the transfer to Boise, who didn't beat out Maddox Madsen. I think he's going to transfer out again. But
that
was a very high recruit that left USC to go to Boise.
Colby, I saw you mention Mario Williams.
Yes, the wideout, the 5-star wideout from USC that goes to Tulane.
He had a very good year this year.
Yeah, it's just it's a quick trigger reaction. It's bullshit. And I don't want our audience to fall for that shit. You know what I mean? Because I feel like our audience is hipper and much better than Pates and some of these other ones where they're promoting this shit, just trying to kick the team when they're down. Don't worry, Tulane's got money. They kept Summerall. That's more important than any quarterback or running back. And by the way, they've had like 1 million good running backs over the past 10 years. I mean, under Willie Fritz, I feel like they had a different running back every single year. One of them was on the Titans. Relax. We're fine. The sport is fine. All right. Everyone wants to make a big deal. Jimmy Laranaga's out there bitching. Meanwhile, Meanwhile, he was the first team to take a Final Four. His Miami team, that he took to the Final Four a couple years ago, was like the first team to really benefit off the NIL. But hey, guess what? I picked the wrong players. The house is on fire. This fucking game is ridiculous. Everyone's look. I love Jimmy. But he's full of shit right there. He's full of shit.
Oh, let me push back a little, because it has to be frustrating to try and develop players and have them leave, and have no control over that, and do everything you can and have no control over that. And I think in basketball, it hurts you that much more. You don't have 22-man, starting roster. You have a 5-man starting roster. So if you lose 3 guys off that, then guess what? You have to rebuild your entire, production.
But also he paid for that. Like, they were the first team to benefit off that. Weren't they going all in on the portal way before everyone else?
Congrats for him for playing the game for a couple of years and being successful with it. But that doesn't mean that it's not tiresome to do that. He was up for the task, for a few years, but he got worn out. And I think it is probably more taxing on coaches to have to constantly be re-recruiting your own players.
Sure.
Yeah. Their job's harder now, but you make a whole lot of money. So I don't really want to hear it.
Yeah. All right. And go look, and he's 76 years old. All right. Go enjoy your fucking, I don't know how old he is, but he's old. All right.
He's old as shit.
He's very old. I've been saying this, okay, you're probably not the type of guy to be staying on the phone right now. It's not for you. Move along. Along. We appreciate your time. George Mason, start your football program, and let's go. Bowl games. We got a few bowl games before we get to the CFP. And, before we might have looked at these bowl games as in, what the hell do we got here? But now they look like absolute fire. And I'm referring to Thursday, January 2nd. I didn't make slides for this because, well, we didn't know we'd be tackling these on this episode. Duke is catching 17 against Ole Miss, the Gator Bowl. Lane Kiffin, when he's not on Twitter, is apparently a good football coach, but not when he's a 17-point favorite, because he lost one game already when he was a 17-point favorite to Kentucky. Trey Harris is out. He opted out for the NFL draft. Now, Star Thomas just hit the portal, the former New Mexico State running back, who a lot of Duke fans will say is forever a legend for his performance against North Carolina. He's out. Grayson Loftus. Who the hell is Duke starting at quarterback, Nick?
It's going to be Henry Beal in the 4th, who's got a little bit of playing time last couple of years, but he was 3rd string for a reason. Yeah.
So I would say Ole Miss actually has less opt-outs than
Jackson Dart is playing too. So Jackson Dart is going to the pros, but he's playing this game first. So I think we have to, give him a little golf clap as well, just like we did with Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders.
Respect.
Look, I wanted to take Duke here, but I'm afraid, especially with Duke on their 3rd string quarterback and with Lane Kiffin wanting to prove a point.
Yeah,
I'm afraid Ole Miss might put it on him.
Yeah. I think you got it. It's just kind of like the Syracuse Washington State game. Same number. You just got to lay it.
Looking at numbers, Ole Miss number 6 offense, number 4 scoring defense. Duke 75 and I think 36 respectively. So not anywhere comparable from a statistical standpoint. I forget, Colby, was it Tennessee that completely dominated lesser competition and skewed their stats?
Yes, Ole Miss does that too, though.
Yeah.
This is a classic. The SEC does tuck jobs within tuck jobs. You know what I mean?
Hey, Ole Miss challenged themselves in the non-con playing Wake Forest this year.
And Wake Forest did cancel the rematch before Clausen left. He was like, you know what? Fuck this. And we'll call out them for being little bitches on that. But playing Middle Tennessee, Georgia Southern, and who was the FCS they played? It was like who was it? It was Furman, right? I keep thinking it's Furman.
Furman, yeah, they won 76-0.
Yeah.
That'll inflate your stats.
That'll skew it a little bit.
And 52-3 against Middle Tennessee will skew it. And Middle Tennessee, once again, to remind folks, 3-9 on the season, and those 3 wins were against FCS Tennessee Tech by 7, new from the FCS Kennesaw State by 9, and UTEP, which plays at an FCS level, by 7. So Yeah, inflated, but I'm still laying the 17.
Yeah, I have to agree with you guys on that one. Although I will say this, Manny Diaz, chippy, finds way to stay in games, found a way to come back against North Carolina. So I wouldn't be surprised if he coaches himself into a potential cover, but just on pure talent, especially Jackson Dart, just that offense when it is going is among the most explosive in college football. So that's gonna be hard to stop.
I just think it's all motivation. Kiffin wants to prove that he should be in the playoffs and Ole Miss should be in the playoffs, and so then he's looking to put it on, especially an ACC team where SMU got in over another SEC team.
That's true, especially after eating some crow after the Tennessee game against Ohio State. I'm sure he's extra motivated.
Yeah. And then the very next day, so that is on Thursday, January 2nd. On Friday, January 3rd, we get just a heater of a game, a little Texas battle, the First Responder Bowl. North Texas is catching 14 against Texas State, these Bobcats. This game, I believe, is in
Dallas, Texas.
Yeah. I always get
Ford Stadium.
There you go. SMU's home. Look, North Texas is a lot closer to that than Texas State, but North Texas lost what? Their QB is now at Virginia, Chandler Morris. DT Sheffield's gone. Where did he land again? I forget where he landed. Maybe West Virginia. I forget. Texas State's got a slew of guys that hit the portal too. So, I mean, it's going to be one of these tricky games. Texas State's best defensive lineman's in the portal. Their running back, Ismail Mahdi's in the portal. So, I mean, and that's just to name a few. There's more. I'll take the points though in a little Texas battle. Both teams run the air raid. Give me the points.
What's the spread on it again?
14. The over under at 63.5.
Yeah, that's a big spread. That is a big one.
I think it's too much. Also, sorry, Patty. Go ahead.
No, I'm just trying to scroll through and check recent performances. Obviously, Texas State finished pretty strong there.
North Texas didn't.
So, what was that? Yeah, 5 losses in their last 6 games. They're only winning at Temple. They went on the road, got a tough one in the link. But I don't know, riding that momentum plus how explosive Texas State's offense is, maybe you see the cover there, but I still just think it's too many.
Yeah, I'm gonna go North Texas. I think it's also motivation. I mean, this is an in-state battle here that means something. But I think Texas State had their sights set higher than this game. That they didn't want to be in the first responder serve Pro Bowl. I think they wanted to do something better this year. So that's why I'll take North Texas. I don't know if it's a money line play. I think Texas State probably wins, but I think they win by like 10-13.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on it. I don't know if the money line's live, but I will say, I mean, wouldn't shock me if you're just looking for a double-digit dog. It wouldn't be crazy to me if they got it done, but definitely just take the 14 to cover your ass.
As who is in the chat, Go Beeves pointed out, big disparity between statistical offense and defense. I want to say, Texas State number 7 in terms of total scoring offense, and North Texas number 121 in scoring defense. So maybe play the over.
Yeah, Jeff Sharp saying the overs at a much higher rate after the Power 4 schools grabbed a lot of the defensive players from these mid majors. Perhaps, but I don't know. Sam Houston State's defense was fire this year. Minnesota, the Mayo Bowl, taking on the in Charlotte. Hell, maybe I should go to this. Minnesota, Virginia Tech. Tickets $5. They should be.
Not too much more.
Yeah.
So Drones hit the portal now. He came back, but he's not playing. Jalen Lane, their wideout, opting out for the NFL. Dude, look, I like Jalen Lane. What are you going to be, a 6th-round draft pick? What the fuck are we doing here? What are we doing here? Like,
he's going to be catching balls from DJU somewhere.
In the CFL.
Yeah, Colin Schley is questionable. Malachi Thomas questionable. Chance Fitzgerald, their other wide. I mean, I don't know if you guys caught this too. They've had a lot of defensive starters hit the portal. Virginia Tech has. which is why I'm all over the Minnesota, the Gophers. Actually, 7.5 though. I'm still going to take Minnesota. I think Minnesota wins this one about 20-10. Yeah, lay the 7.5. Don't have a ton of conviction. I actually think the under is probably the better play at under 42.5. NC Nick, what are you doing here?
I disagree, man. You don't lay 7.5 with Minnesota ever. Minnesota's a team you take when they're a dog or a short favorite. And I like Pop Watson, the freshman quarterback for Virginia Tech. He came into the Duke game.
Anybody named Pop is a fucking winner in my opinion.
He started the UVA game, had a nice game there. If he plays next year and is a starter, I think Virginia Tech's in pretty good hands. He can do some things with his legs, with his arm too. I think Virginia Tech covers this. I think laying 7.5 with the Gophers, you're crazy. And this is going to be a Virginia Tech crowd. The trip to Charlotte is not that far, only 3 hours or so. Who from Minnesota is coming to Charlotte? It's not like
that is true. But Virginia Tech's still not any good. Minnesota's
I'm gonna lock up the Hokies. All right,
let's battle. They're baiting you on the 7.5. Minnesota is a much better football team than Virginia Tech's been this year. If you've paid attention to these games, so yes, the crowd will be a pro Hokie crowd, but who cares?
Now we got a problem. Now we got a problem.
We got a battle in Charlotte. Winners getting mayonnaise dunked on their face. Dundee on the Gophs.
What's the tiebreaker?
This one's a little bit tough because I feel like Minnesota is a considerably better team when you consider their performances. Like, yes, the 3-point loss on the road at Michigan, they probably should have gotten that one if they are a decent team. But look, Minnesota.
They should have got that onside kick. They got some bullshit. They got some bullshit dealt to them in that game.
Yeah, I mean they beat some decent teams. Beating Illinois on the road, impressive. Nearly beating Penn State toward the end of the season. So I think
Penn State.
They're a quality team. Virginia Tech though, 5 losses by 1 score or less.
They suck.
It just makes me think they're going to play a close game of football. My personal take too is that Bud Foster coming back in a 1-game setting, maybe he dials something up. He's probably supremely motivated to have a little fun and get creative with the defense. So maybe Virginia Tech keeps it close. I think the home crowd, even though I think Minnesota is a considerably better football team, I think the play here is Tech. So I'm going to ride the Hokies.
I will say they have the Georgia Tech win, but there was no Haynes King that day. So it's like, what is the best win on Virginia Tech's resume? It's Georgia Tech from a resume standpoint, but when you take out no Haynes King, kind of makes it a little trickier. Like, what's the best win on that resume? Yeah.
How about we have Sam Malone in the chat? Cheers.
Hello. I see what you did there.
If you catch my drift.
Well, everybody knows your name. One of my favorite things is learning the hatred between Woody Harrelson and Sam Malone. But did you guys know this? They fucking absolutely hated each other.
It makes sense. Wait, who's the character?
Woody Harrelson and Ted Danson. Pre blackface.
I just think Woody Harrelson would be a much cooler dude to hang out with. Than
Yeah.
But do you know this about Woody Harrelson's dad?
Yeah,
who's like
serial killer, right?
Yeah, exactly. It makes Woody Harrelson when he plays a badass in movies that much more convincing. It's like, shit, you've seen it.
I told you, weed saves lives. Had his dad just had weed, he wouldn't have killed anybody. It's a different time period. There you go. But no, they had a ton of animosity for one another. So apparently, on the set, it would get all chippy. Norm would have to break shit up. No one wanted a piece of fucking Cliff or Norm, right? Cliff knows fucking karate. Fucking, I love how no one in the chat probably alive when Cheers came out. Go check out Cheers. I've been to that bar and it's kind of a shitty tourist trap in Boston. Yeah,
it is.
Yeah,
but at least you can say you've been there.
Yeah, exactly. Final bowl game before we get to these playoff games. Saturday, January 4th, we get the Turner Gill Bowl. Yes. Former Buffalo head coach Turner Gill was also the Flamin' Libs head coach, kind of was the first coach to put the Flamin' Libs on the map. Turner Gill. And then we're going to the Bahamas. At least somebody buy the guy a flight down to the Bahamas. He fucking had a lot to do with these programs. Buffalo's laying 2.5. Pete Lambeau great year one. Jamie Chadwell still with the Flamin' Libs. Caden Salter since has moved along to Colorado, which is pretty substantial news. I also feel like there's a few other ones.
Why don't you wait until after the bowl game? Get a free trip to the Bahamas, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, they don't think this through. He's at practice. He's at practice watching Shedeur Sanders just sitting there.
Here's what you do:
San Antonio.
You take the trip down. You come up with a phony injury. Sorry, coach, can't play.
Yeah.
And you enjoy yourself in the Bahamas, right?
1,000%, man. They give
Is
you
there
that
a
little
chance?
wristband.
Is there a chance prime time does? Yeah, exactly. If you can, just sit there drinking a Mai Tai on the sideline. Getting a burrito on the sideline. Do it the Patty C way. Let me say, Caden Salter, do they have control over whether they can, choose to stay for a bowl game or whether they have to leave? Does that vary from?
I think
program to program?
Yeah, I don't know. I think the agents kind of tell them like, dude, test the waters, and it's like,
and then the coach has to welcome you back to play too. Like the
yeah.
coach might be like, no, screw you, get out of here. If you,
Well, they would have been sucking him off with the possibility of him coming back next year.
Oh, sure.
All right. So why not go down to the Bahamas? All right. Say you got a little flu, a little COVID. I hear that's still going around. All right. Why not? And I mean, how much can you really learn at Colorado this month?
Right.
Okay. Why
missed opportunity? Right. I mean, and you've been an important person in the Liberty program for several years now. Just like go out on a high note.
Now, let me ask you this. Does any of that fear going down to the Bahamas and Jerry Falwell's there jerking off in the corner? He's like, hey, Caden, can you fuck my wife? Could be. Could be a little terrified of that.
Not again, Jerry. Come on.
In the Bahamas now? Last time was South Beach. We got to go to the Bahamas and do this? This is just awkward. That might have something to do with it the more you think about it. But there's a slew of guys out for Liberty. I mean, honestly, a slew. I have no idea who's playing. A lot of players have left via portal or just injured. So I'm going to take the Buffalo Bulls. The MAC is legit this year. All right. We saw Toledo put it on the SEC with Mississippi State. And then they put it on Pat Narduzzi in the ACC. And we saw what Northern Illinois did to Notre Dame. The MAC is up. And Pete Lembo and these Bulls, he's got some fire tweets he's sending off. There's a buzz around town. Give me the Bulls minus the 2.5. Give me the over on 50.5 as well. Nick?
Again, yes, I agree. I mean, it's all motivation play here. Liberty did not want to be in the Bahamas Bowl. They thought they might be in the college football playoff this year, and especially with Salter gone. I think Buffalo has all the reason in the world to come out here after a very surprising season and try to, put the cherry on top and win this. I think that's what they'll do, and they'll cover in the process.
Sorry, did you just call it a cherry on top?
A cherry?
A cherry. Okay. Just making sure. Ryan Berger, the backup quarterback.
Former App State starting quarterback.
Not a lot of reps, a total of 7 attempts so far. Yeah, 7 attempts for his 261 for Salter. So
he started at App though for a little bit.
Okay.
Just one game, I think, and he got hurt. Or maybe one and a half games and he got hurt last year, and then Aguilar came in.
Well, I'm guessing he just doesn't bring the same dynamic with his legs to the equation, which was so much of what made Liberty's offense go. So assuming they become less dimensional than they were previously, then I think that's going to impact Liberty. I mean, especially in Jamie Chadwell's system, having a mobile quarterback that can run the option a little bit is pretty important. So I would say, especially since Buffalo did do pretty well in a tough MAC, I think you got to lay it here.
Let's go. We're agreeing a lot, with the exception of that Minnesota Virginia Tech game. All right, then those are the bowl games. We're going to get to the CFP, but before I do that, want to tell the fine people out there that the college football experience is brought to you by mybookie.ag. We've been running on mybookie.ag for years, since Pavia was at New Mexico Military Institute. MyBook has been just killing it for years for us. So check out their new and improved website. It's great on mobile. Plus, there's props for every game. And the live daily casino is a bundle of fun. Yeah. Look, I got some fire plays from the college basketball front. I'll give you Eastern Kentucky tomorrow in the points. Take that against Louisville. It's a lot of points for a little regional battle. Head over to mybookie.ag. Use the promo code TCESGPN. Once again, promo code TCESGPN for 100% deposit match up to $1,000. Plus, they're going to give you a $10 casino chip just to have some extra fun. That's mybookie.ag, promo code TCESGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. SGPN's proud partner, Rhythm, is the #1 AI-powered sports betting platform that helps provide bettors of all levels the ability to build custom predictive betting models in seconds and get predictions for betting on money lines, spreads, totals, props. Look, you can copy one of the top performing models from the leaderboard. Probably make money, or you can build your own like old Dundee here, and it'll adjust around that. You can now track props in the Rhythm app as well. There's college hoops, there's college football, there's NBA, NFL, there's everything over at Rhythm. Claim your free 7-day trial period today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's RITHMM. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. All right, we are back. I saw people talking about that. What about Cam Ward being ripped from Washington State? Material. Look, it's gonna happen, but let's not act like fucking Washington State didn't take Cam Ward from Incarnate Word. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, you could do this. You can do this all day. It's the freeway's going back and forth. There's traffic going both ways. Well,
you know what's funny to look at the 4 teams in the college football playoffs and see how many quarterbacks were transfers.
Yeah, no, not the 4 teams. What are you talking about? The 8 teams.
I'm sorry, the 8 teams. Yeah, 4 games.
Yeah.
Okay. I count 4, 8, 9. At least 9 of the quarterbacks were all transfers.
Yeah.
How many of those were G5 to P5 or P4, as it were?
Let's think. Boise. Well, Boise does not have a transfer.
Yeah, Madsen does not. Drew Aller is not a transfer, but then you got Quinn Ewers. Yes.
Ohio State stole their money. Stole Ohio State's money.
Power 4 to Power 4, which almost, is an argument as to that the group of 5 isn't being any more affected by it than the Power.
Well, actually, they were all power conference to power conference.
Yeah.
Okay.
Leavitt was, Riley Leonard was, Howard was, Gabriel was. So, I guess Gabriel went from UCF to Oklahoma before UCF was in the Big 12, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, he was in the AAC. So you could argue that maybe, but
30 years ago,
he's been, that was spec, like when 311 was a thing. So, and then look, Scatterbo, the running back, probably him and Jeanty, the 2 best running backs. That's my exercise that I'll say. And I know we got to get this in. I want you to be honest here, guys. This is why I believe the numbers would back me up. People say we've shit on the SEC this year, which we have, right? But I also think if you look at the top 5 players of every position, it is the least amount of SEC players in a long fucking time. Like, if you took the top 5 quarterbacks in the nation, does an SEC guy even make it? If it is, it's what? Ewers? But I think you're
Dart,
looking at
maybe.
Yeah, but at 5, I think Shador, Cam
Well,
Ward.
I would say the SEC for the most part for a long time was not generally cranking out quarterbacks per se.
Linemen,
defensive,
quarterbacks.
every other position.
Cam Newton and Tua, Jalen Hurts. I mean, Joe Burrow. What are you talking about?
But I just feel like for the amount of it's relative to the amount of other production they crank out, it was kind of low.
Okay, well look at the running backs. I would say the running backs, Jeanty and Scatterbo. You maybe you throw in the kid from Tennessee in the top 5, but I don't know that he's top. I don't know that he's top 3. And then wide receivers, I think you can make the same case. Tight ends, you can make this. I went through this. I did this exercise. Now, yes, you can find like D-line. I think they're probably one of the more like that's one area where they're really good. But compare that to like we've done I've done the mock drafts for the past few years. Compare it to that, and to me, it's a big difference than what it was 5 years ago. Now, granted, it's a mock draft, but I'm just saying if you just take statistically, go grab the top 10 guys from each thing, that shows to the fucking parity of the sport, and that's why we should not honor Alabama's bullshit 30-point loss or 24-point loss to Oklahoma. All right, let's get to this. Enough slander. Although I hate the Big Ten too. Guys, let me see if I can figure this out. It always takes a little bit. What do we got going here?
Hey,
there we go.
There
we go. Tostitos. Turns out it's not Tostitos anymore, but I just wanted to give them a shout out.
I think Colby was practicing that for the last 3 days, just trying to get that in order.
I feel like that's kind of a fun segment on the show, is watching Colby try and figure it out. The box is moving all around the screen.
I don't do technology. Let me tell you that.
You want the one box to like hit the corner at exactly the right spot, right? Remember that? Remember like the screensaver you wanted to hit in the right.
Oh yeah. It's tricky. It's tricky out there. I forget what this is. Something else Fiesta Bowl, but a shout out to Tostitos. No, you can never go wrong when you're shit hammered. You find a bag of Tostitos and some dip.
I like that hint of lime Tostitos.
Oh yeah, much better than that current. I forget their current sponsor. Can someone in the chat give me their current sponsor?
It's VRBO, Verbo.
Yeah, you know.
Doesn't have as much flavor, if you will.
There's no hint of lime, Verbo.
Yeah, no hint of lime there. Penn State, Boise State. Look, I made these slides a week ago. I had to adjust all of them from a line point of view. Penn State's now laying 11. It was 10.5. Last time we talked, the over under 52.5 went down a half a point as well. Lock. Get this Penn State bullshit out of here with James Franklin. Boise they know this. I got people asking me, you think Boise can do this? They've only done this for like 25 years. At what point do you buy in, Joe Schmo out there? All right. How big of a track record do we got to go? They should have beat Oregon at Oregon. They're going to give Penn State 11 points. It's disrespectful. Yeah, give me the 11, sprinkle the money line, and give me the over 52.5. And see, Nick, what are you doing here?
Well, to take a quick step back, I mean, the big question, when we're handicapping these games is what do you do with the big dogs? We know that the dogs were god awful last week, and the favorites were 4-0. So what do you do with Boise? What do you do with Arizona State? I mean, without even going into the specific game, do you think that the favorites against the non-traditional powerhouses can just steamroll and cover and blow them out again? Not at home this time. I would say probably not. It's just rare that you see, from one week to the other, just favorites dominate or dogs dominate. So without even looking at individual games, you might want to think about maybe taking one or both of the big dogs. And I think Boise is probably, well, I kind of like both, but I mean, yeah. So the Penn State game was frustrating because SMU within the first quarter, they moved the ball better than Penn State did. Look at Penn State's first 4 drives: 3 plays, 7 yards, 8 plays, 28 yards, 7 plays, 39 yards, 4 plays, 9 yards, 0 points. It wasn't.
That's why I'm catching strays over my prediction. If that was in Dallas, SMU wins. I stand by that.
It wasn't until Kevin Jennings' 3rd interception that Penn State actually put together a scoring offensive drive. And at that point, the team was demoralized because it was 2 pick sixes and a 3rd interception. So, I mean, Penn State has kind of hung around with teams on the caliber of Boise State or teams worse than Boise State all year long, whether it be Bowling Green, Illinois, USC, Minnesota. I think right now that the teams that, the big favorites are getting a couple extra points because of how they looked at home last week, and they're not at home this week. I kind of like Boise here too. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm inclined to agree. I mean, I think I don't know from a crowd standpoint whether Glendale is an advantage for Boise from a travel standpoint, but
certainly not a disadvantage. Boise travel.
They probably travel pretty well. And, the turf, the indoor environment, I think the speed probably benefits Boise a little bit. I think Jeanty probably, hits. I think you're right, Colby, that the temperature there might have slowed down SMU a beat or two.
The quarterback specifically, he could not handle that.
Yeah.
It reminded me of when Peyton Manning played in New England the first time. Remember he got drafted by the Colts. He was playing in that bullshit RCA stadium or whatever, and he had to play the Colts and the Jets up in the AFC East back then, and he played like ass in both of those games.
Completely overwhelmed.
Yeah, he just looked like a fish out of water, and that exactly the way he looked last week. So
I'll say this: Madsen really efficient. I think 22 touchdowns. I don't have it pulled up, but only 3 interceptions. So he protects the ball well. I guess you're able to do that when you can just lean on your run.
I'll say that though, he needs to play clean, because the last couple times I saw him play, including that UNLV game, there's a couple ones where I was just like, dude, you do that against a really good team that's going to be a pick 6.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're going to lay the points, then I think you expect to win the turnover battle by 2 or 3. I mean, just look at what the score would have been without the pick 6s last week. So yeah, definitely Boise needs to play a clean game. No more than maybe 1 turnover. I'd start feeling bad about Boise if they have multiple turnovers in this game.
Special teams, also
special teams, and I think the ground game on both sides. Penn State is a very good rush defense, top 10. They did a good job on Brashard Smith, but as that game got out of hand, SMU couldn't run the ball anymore because they had to pass to try to catch up. They did a solid job on Jordan James, the Oregon running back. They did get gashed by the Ohio State combo, so there's hope there. And then what can Boise do to slow down the Penn State rushing attack? The 2 things that Boise does well on defense is stop the run and stop opposing tight ends. Now, the passing game, Boise has struggled on the outside. Granted, they haven't faced Tyler Warren before. He's a tight end of a different beast. But Boise does have a good rush defense, and they do limit tight ends. I think that the best tight end on the year is 43 yards against Boise.
Yeah, and so, I'm gonna highlight the and shout out to the chat going crazy. Diego Pavia, the greatest human ever on planet Earth, dominating. I'm gonna highlight third down defense. What they did I recently was sitting here the past 3 days. I threw on the old Boise Oregon game from earlier this year. Dude, Boise was the better team that day. If it wasn't for those 2 kick returns, Boise was better. They were 9 of 19 on third down. They held Oregon to 4 of 12 on third down. To me, if they can make Penn State be 4 of 12 or anywhere close to that on third down, with the way James Franklin coaches, what did he go? He went for a 4th and 1 on his own 19 and couldn't get it against SMU. Do that against Boise. I dare you.
They also sacked Oregon 4 times and won the turnover battle 2-0. In Eugene.
Both of these teams have a pretty darn high ceiling, potentially like at least getting to the national championship ceiling, I think. But they also have pretty low floors. I think they find themselves in dogfights with lesser competition more frequently than truly elite teams often do. So I think it's a pretty good matchup. I think 11 points is too many, especially in Glendale. I mean, the battle in the trench is gonna tell the story.
I like the over on 52.5 too. I think Kotelnicki is good to scheme up a couple plays where Boise will give up like a 60-yard touchdown, 70-yard touchdown. But I also think with Jeanty, I think he can still get his.
He'll pop a few.
Yeah. So give me the over on 52.5. That is on
lock up Boise.
Yeah, is that a triple lock?
Yeah,
I'm locking that. Yeah. Let's go. It's about time we hear this. Triple lock. I mean, Boise's got what? They got wins. I was explaining this to someone the other night, and it's like, these schools can never do it. I'm like, what are you talking about? Boise's won at Georgia. Boise's won at Florida State. Boise's beaten Oklahoma with Adrian Peterson and Sam Bradford. You know what I mean? When they were number 1 in the nation for a lot of the year. Yeah.
Chris Peterson was a different coach.
Well, but even under Harsin, there's when they won at Florida State. You know what I mean? Like that
was a good win. It's not quite on the level of the other ones. When Peterson was there, I mean, they finished like number 3 in the
under
nation.
Harsin, they beat Oregon 34-7.
That's impressive. That is impressive. Was Oregon down at that time?
Cristobal, buddy.
Okay.
Your boy.
Let's move along. Texas is heading to Atlanta. The Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl is bullshit. Should be outside. Fulton County Stadium, Center Park Stadium, something. Goddamn Mercedes-Benz boring ass fell asleep. I didn't even fix the slide on this one. I fell asleep on the slide just because thought about that environment. Texas is laying 13.5 points. Now this one scares me a little bit.
I like the Boise play better if you're talking about the two dogs. I agree.
Oh, by far to me.
If you're talking money line, I feel decent that Arizona State. I mean, I don't know.
This one scares me
lately.
Look, I hate Texas. The whole chat should know this. I hate Texas. They're the worst at everything. But Arizona State is a team to me. When you're super hot and you get a bye week, it's fucking horrible. Especially if you're in Tempe, fucking Arizona, where there's fake tits bouncing everywhere, right? Also, I don't know. First off, Jordan Tyson's out for the year still. So, I mean, I still think you had that one game bump.
That did not affect them against Iowa State.
It did not affect them.
It might again. I thought it would, but maybe here is where they miss them.
Where I really think they might struggle is on the defensive line against Texas' stellar offensive line.
Let me push back right away.
Why is that?
I think that's recency bias. I think Texas hasn't been that dominant of a rush offense all year. Let me get that pulled up.
That's true. Only 49th in the nation running the football, but second half of the year they've been running the ball a lot better. But also this Clemson number 85 rush defense, Arizona State number 26 rush defense. So I think Arizona State may be better equipped than Clemson was, and Texas, that was an uncharacteristically great performance by their offensive line.
Dude, I look at Arizona State's schedule and I say they did not play one team that was this complete from an offense. Like Texas has the best offensive line probably in the country to me, right? I said that preseason. I still buy into that. And they have receivers that if you bottle up the run or if you focus too much on the run, they have 3 guys that I think can be home run threats. And to me, when I look at this schedule, Arizona State didn't play one goddamn complete team really. You know what I mean? Like offensively. Is Kansas State the most complete? But that to me, like Avery Johnson's a walking interception. Look, I hate Texas, so I have to take Arizona State. It's in my contract. But this is certainly not a lock, and I'm terrified that Texas rolls them. I'm terrified that Texas wins this like 42-14.
You know who Arizona State is? They are 2022 TCU. And who won a lot of close games in the Big 12, and a lot of people had
explosive offensively.
Probably not, but that's not their game. I mean, you could argue. Who is the great quarterback for TCU? Why am I drawing a blank?
Max Duggan.
Yeah. Duggan. He's a more explosive player, but I do think. God, now I'm drawing a blank on the.
Dude, TCU had 2 running backs and wideouts. Like ASU's wideouts, especially with Tyson injured, you're just like, eh.
Levitt's got wheels.
I mean, TCU had Quentin Johnson, who was a first-round pick.
At
receiver. They had a better passing game than Arizona State. I don't know if it's quite a great comparison.
They didn't have Scatterbo, but I feel like you're right. Texas.
You ready for my comparison?
Yeah.
It's going to be dated. You remember the Colorado team that just whooped Nebraska 62-36? They had Bobby Pesavento at quarterback, Chris Brown at running back.
That was a long time.
They caught lightning in a bottle. They won 10 straight games. Or 9 or 10 straight games. I feel like maybe it was 9. I don't remember. It was 11 games, I think, back then. So, but then they were so hot. They won the Big 12 championship against Texas. That Mac Brown team had everybody, Roy Williams. But then they had a month off before the Fiesta Bowl and they played Oregon and Joey Harrington just shit on them. And I feel like Arizona State, like I didn't want them to have the week off. I wanted them to get the play-in game because I think the week off can be terrible for you. I'm still taking them because I'm obligated in my contract to never take Texas, but never would I lock this game.
Well, and last but not least, Texas does have a very good rush defense themselves. This is the best rush defense Arizona State will face all year. Now, the other like top 25-ish rush defenses that Arizona State has played is both BYU and Utah, and Scatterbo sliced them both up. But obviously, Arizona State goes as far as Scatterbo takes them, especially with Tyson out. I'm going to take the points also because if I'm going to go out, I'm going to go out swinging with some big dogs here. So give me Arizona State to keep it close. Colby, what do you think about if there's a money line play? I mean, I like Boise better than Arizona State, right?
By far to me. Honestly, if you want me to be completely honest with you, I got Texas winning this like 42-17, right? I'm taking Arizona State because I can't take Texas. The better play here is the over 51.5. If you want the blueprint, in my opinion, for Arizona State to win this game, they have to get up early and put the pressure on Ewers. Ewers has made a lot of mistakes when the pressure's been on him. They have to get up early. Whether it's trick
they have
plays,
to run the football. I mean,
yes. Whether it's trick plays though, block punt, something, they have to make Texas pay early because to me, the longer the game goes on, they have to put the pressure on Texas. And to me, I don't know that they can.
I want to see something real quick as far as turnovers, whether either one. Texas number 7 in the nation in turnovers, Arizona State 28. So both are decent at forcing turnovers. Arizona State, you're probably right, has to get aggressive on defense and dial up the pressure and hope they don't pay the price for it. But Texas, that's exactly what they're good at. They're balanced and they're built to take what you give them and exploit it. So they'll probably do that. But still, I don't know. I think depending on if maybe Scatterbo just gets shut down. He's so based on being more physical than the opposing team.
You know how Arizona State can get him going is in the screen game. He's great out of the backfield. So yeah. Pavia touchdown again. Diego pissing Pavia. There's an SEC chant in the chat. That was an easy handicap. Pavia wants to play. But the rest of the goddamn nation doesn't want to play. A bunch of pussies, right? And I guess we'll play. We have a bowl game. Pavia's sitting up there. He's ready to go. He's sitting there firing. He'll sue you. He'll sue everybody. All right, if he's got to play a game. I disagree, Mac. I think it's a horrible matchup for Arizona State. And I thought the bye week was the worst thing that could have fucking happened to them. I hope you're right.
Let me ask you this. Yeah. Texas, who on their schedule is of a similar quality to Arizona State? Because Texas did whoop the dog crap out of a lot of bad teams.
Well, that's true. That's true. Now that's a good thing to play back. I would probably say
Arkansas,
Vanderbilt,
A&M,
Arkansas or Vanderbilt. Yeah, I think they're better than A&M because A&M's so one-dimensional. A&M can't throw the ball. Yeah, similar. Actually, Clemson is actually perfect. Actually, Clemson's pretty. State.
Yeah. I would expect a similar game. Actually,
Well, Clemson had every possible way to backdoor that last year.
And it's not in Darrell K. Royal Stadium, which I think is fucking huge. Yeah.
Clemson should have backdoored that. They should have covered that. That was frustrating.
Yeah. In that regard, that's why I'm taking the 13.5.
I'm with you.
You like how I've said this? My final score is 42-17, but give me the 13.5. Let's go.
That's a great way to not be wrong.
I can't, dude. I honestly feel like Texas is gonna fuck them up. I honestly feel that way. I don't like the matchup, especially with Tyson out. You have no one to take the edge off the top. You know what I mean? Like it's.
What is Leavitt's? What are his rush yards so far this year? I got to double check that because if he can just threaten with the legs a little bit, then that
runner
opens things up a little bit. But Scatterbo almost 1,600 rushing yards. I am not seeing.
Leavitt has almost 400.
Okay, that's a threat with the legs. That could keep things going, keep the chains moving, so the game doesn't get out of hand, and keep Arizona State in it. We'll see.
This is the game I like least out of the 4, in my opinion. If we had to power rank these, it's the game I like least.
I think I agree with that.
Patty?
Honestly, let me push back on you with Penn State, just because Boise State has so many games that they didn't blow away. I don't know what your feeling on the Mountain West is, but my perception is that it's not a great conference this year, and they kind of played with their food a lot, if that's what was going on.
I mean, so did Penn State, though.
Struggled. I mean, Penn State, we saw them against elite competition more frequently. And what they did against Oregon was not quite as good, and quite frankly, Boise having to go up to Eugene, whereas Penn State getting Oregon and Indianapolis was a little easier for Penn State. But
Penn State looked like shit against Bowling Green, against Minnesota, against USC. They got fortunate to beat all those teams.
That's true, but you give them credit for flexing against USC when they needed to. Also took Ohio State to the gun.
I mean, if USC doesn't miss a 20-yard field goal, the game doesn't go to overtime.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, I took Boise, I locked it, but it's one that just like SMU, if Boise doesn't have the answers, which is if Penn State can shut down Jeanty, then what does Boise turn to?
I like Cam Camper. I mean,
how do we turn back to Boise?
Yeah.
Well, you're talking about plays that like we're least comfortable with.
I feel great about the Boise play. They've proven it too many times to me.
That's
Arizona
a volatile play to me because we haven't seen Boise against elite enough competition throughout the year that we don't really know what they're going to do. Yeah,
Oregon, UNLV.
One time in the first month of the year.
Twice.
UNLV is good, but not great. They're not elite, certainly.
I mean, they're better than fucking USC.
Are they?
Yes.
Maybe.
Better than Minnesota.
UNLV didn't play anyone either. You know, they're
better than Bowling Green, right?
Okay, fair.
All right. Third game. Obviously, the Penn State Boise's on New Year's Eve. The other one's on New Year's here. These other three. Ohio State, Oregon, Rose Bowl. Series goes back to 1958. We should have saw this in the Big Ten championship, right? Ohio State's the road favorite, or a sort of road favorite, I guess. Yeah. I used to bartend at the Hilton right there in Pasadena. Ohio State fans, they show up for this. Oregon fans too. This will be, I never knew I hated Ohio State so much until, you had to bartend on the Ohio State people. You could take a conversation about, I don't know, Miller Lite being from Milwaukee or something. And they would turn that into, Ohio State's greatest program in the history of the world. You could literally talk about anything. You bring up Cheez-Its and they'd be like, you know what? It reminds me of that time we won the Cheez-It Bowl. We're the greatest goddamn team. We're the greatest goddamn team to ever exist. I'm telling you, man, it made me I was just like, these motherfuckers, they just won't let it go.
Does that mean you're on the Ducks here?
No, I'm on Ohio State. I think the week off actually hurts. I think the fact you get to play them twice from a motivational standpoint helps only Ohio State. And like I said, winning the Big Ten championship, probably the worst thing that could have happened for Oregon. You start celebrating, you're bringing trophies up. Psychologically, I think it's a big issue. I also think, here's what I like too. I like getting them on that grass. I think that slows the Ducks down a little bit. So give me Ohio State. I have a future on Oregon to win the national championship, but I'm just terrified that this is a classic Oregon moment. Ohio State gets revenge, wins it. Chip Kelly, very familiar with the lay of the land there at the Rose Bowl. NC Nick, what are you doing here?
I think you're right. I think the Buckeyes are the team with momentum, and I think if there is one team where the break hurts them, it's probably Oregon. Maybe not so much, Boise or Arizona State, even though I could see the argument for Arizona State. But I mean, go back to the game earlier this year. We all know 32-31 in Eugene. That as far as yardage wise, it was almost a dead even. Oregon had 14 more rushing yards, 15 more passing yards, so 29 total more yards. Turnovers were 2-0 in Oregon's favor, and penalties. Ohio State had 8 for 70, and Oregon just had 3 for 25. So both of those categories chalk up Alton Stadium as a main factor as to why Oregon was able to win those decisively, but also only just win the game barely. I mean, if it wasn't for Will Howard and that taking the ball down, running with it as time expired, maybe the Buckeyes would have had a chance at a long field goal or something, but. Also, speaking of Will Howard, he just came off, I think, the best game of the season. His accuracy last week was very impressive. 24 for 29, 311, 2 touchdowns.
And you got to love the adversity. You lose to Michigan the way you lost to Michigan, and then the way you put it on Tennessee. I just think honestly, this might be my favorite play of the whole fucking. I think I like this even more than Boise.
I'm gonna lock up. How you guys can say
lock it up.
I don't know.
Double lock.
Well,
double lock.
Play that music, but you're not getting 3 on this.
Yeah, I like the spot. To me, getting Dylan Gabriel and that bullshit cha abrupt slide shit away from Autzen.
So, Patty C, do we have a disagreement, or are you just on Ohio State but not as confident?
I think I'm on Oregon.
Okay,
I
good,
think
good. We like a little disagreements.
The spread is about right, but I think Oregon, I think it's kind of a coin flip game, as we saw before. And both of these teams against, lesser competition tend to dominate. Against elite competition tend to struggle a little bit. Ohio State and Oregon both kind of struggle with Penn State. You could say Ohio State's dominance of Indiana was a good sign that, they have that high end potential, certainly against Tennessee too, which Oregon, I feel like, is one struggling to find where did I put their schedule to completely dominate, what we would consider elite competition. That'd be Boise, who they beat by 3, Ohio State, who they beat by 1. And then, that's kind of Penn State, who they beat by 8. So, they haven't completely, but I just feel like you're going to get a really, really competitive game here. And to assume that, I think we're just assuming Oregon's going to get caught and Ohio State's found their stride. I don't necessarily think that's the case. I think Will Howard, he's only thrown for 300 twice this year. One was this past game, and one was against Oregon earlier in the year. Granted, that was at Autzen, so that's impressive. But I don't know. I just think it's a close game, and I think it's a coin flip. So on that alone, I'm going to go Oregon.
No, this is, I think, the one I feel best about. This is the one out of all 4 games I feel best about. Second would be, well, I'll get to it, but I feel pretty strongly about this play.
Do you think that Eugene is grass, but that's a huge home field advantage.
That's what I'm saying. You take away that home field advantage, which the momentum behind that. And I also think it'll be 50-50 here, crowd-wise.
Yeah, probably.
I think the motivation is on Ohio State's side. I think the adversity they've had to battle the past couple of weeks is completely on their side. Chip Kelly's familiarity with this place, I think, is a bonus, and I feel like they're only getting more and more comfortable with them with each given week.
Ryan Day is going to have more of that jet black dye on that beard. It's going to.
Oh yeah,
he'll be ready.
Pulling the boozer, pulling the Carlos Boozer. All right, and then the triple header is complete with a game in New Orleans, Notre Dame, Georgia, in that filthy dome. That's 3 of these games in shitty ass domes. What do we? Nice, Senator. All right. Georgia's laying 2.5. This one up a point, guys. Series goes back to 1981, where they played in this exact fucking shitty stadium. Carson backs out for the year for Georgia. But on the other side of things, we know that Benjamin Morrison, their star corner, has been out for the season for a few weeks, but now you add in another key injury.
Riley Mills.
Yes, the defensive tackle.
Lineman, huge.
Gigantic injuries in this game. It'll be a Georgia crowd, I think. If I had to go 70-30, I would say dogs, or maybe 60-40 dogs. I normally love Kirby Smart with 2 months rest, but I'm going to trust the better quarterback here. Give me Notre Dame, and give me Notre Dame on the money line. I think Riley Leonard offers something. If you go back and watch those Georgia Notre Dame games before, first off, it was Brian Kelly and his family coaching, but both those kind of were, I think Georgia kind of held their own in Athens, but in South Bend, it was kind of anyone's game. But I think what Riley Leonard offers is he's normally pretty damn smart with the ball, and his mobility, I think, is going to be the difference in this game. So I will take, and the Georgia's defense is worse than it's been in a while. So I think Notre Dame can take advantage of that. Give me the Irish to get the dub in. This is the year for Marcus Freeman. This is your opportunity. Run with this thing. I'm a bit terrified of Kirby Smart with 2 months or 2 weeks prep. That's the one
right
thing.
There.
That's the one thing for me is I love Kirby Smart with 2 weeks prep.
And Notre Dame has, you could act like they don't lose in this spot almost always. Just because they won last week doesn't mean that's a trend that's going to develop. They almost always lose here, and Georgia almost always kicks ass in big
True,
games.
But what's the odds you got another Stetson Bennett there? I don't think that's likely. You JT Daniels gets injured, your backup quarterback comes in. Now you got Gunnar Stockton. I just don't know if he's ready for this fucking moment.
Are we going to sit here and act like Stetson Bennett was the GOAT? He turned out to be a very good quarterback, but the first time around, he was kind of a liability.
Yeah, but that defense was incredible. That defense is not there this year.
Yeah, that's true.
Now you keep on saying 2 weeks. It's actually 25 days.
Yeah.
So it's about 3.5 weeks. And I think that matters to get Gunnar Stockton, ready and prepared for this game. And I think with a good coaching staff, he's going to at least, manage the game, which I think that's all Georgia needs here, because they are far superior than Notre Dame. Notre Dame in this spot has always come up short. Look, I was on the Irish last week. It was the one game I got right, but maybe it's not fair to take away one play, but if you take away the 98-yard touchdown, then Notre Dame ran for less than 100 yards and averaged less than 3 yards per rush. Georgia's defense is not as good as usual, but they're still a real live defense. And I think on the line of scrimmage, they're going to win, especially with Riley Mills. That injury, you could argue, maybe even as big as Carson Beck. I'm on
7.5 sacks for Mills, by far.
No, he's a stud. He's a stud.
I originally, when we were doing our brackets, I had Notre Dame beating Georgia in the spot. I've changed my ways. I'm on the Dogs. Lock it up.
I think, though, I'll battle you, because I think Georgia just doesn't have the skill. They're just not there receiver wise this year. I think you're throwing a inexperienced quarterback against a good defense, and to me, I'm going to go with the better quarterback. And to me, the more I trust their ground game more than Georgia's. I do.
2 weeks ago, you were the one saying Notre Dame was phony, and perhaps that is still a bit true. Indiana was just more phony, and that game was at home in a crazy.
But has Georgia been phony? I mean, Georgia Tech should have beat them, right? I mean, Kentucky should have beat them, right? There's
everybody in America has shown signs of phoniness this year, maybe other than Oregon.
I'm power ranking my games. The way I feel best about Ohio State, I feel second best about Boise State. Third would be Notre Dame. Actually, third would probably be Texas, but since I can't take Texas, but I just think this game, Notre Dame's due for this. This is the time to get Georgia. This is the time to get them.
This is a good time to get them.
There's blood in the water. There's blood in the fucking
Georgia
water.
Georgia hasn't been this susceptible in at least 3 or 4 years.
That's a good point, which is maybe why Georgia loses next week. Because they ain't losing this week. I actually
wow. Okay.
I like Ohio State and Georgia better than the two long shots. They're my two favorite plays of the week, followed by Boise and then Arizona State.
Well, look, I feel like I'm going to agree with you, Nick, just because the spot and Kirby smart with 3 weeks. I'm going to lock Georgia. I was feeling good about Notre Dame, but the more I think about it, and those stats you just rattled off. Indiana, granted, they had the #1 rush defense in the country, which is a lot better than Georgia can say, but they kind of bottled, aside from that one play up, they bottled Jeremiah Love. Jeremiah Love is a Cadillac. I think he'll, be tough to stop. He'll probably break some big runs for Notre Dame in the Sugar Bowl. But ultimately, I just think Georgia's team speed will limit that. I mean, Riley Leonard, though, his ability to buy time and make plays.
He's the key for me to win this bet, to me. He has to use his legs and he has to play turnover-free football. That's the edge, though, to me, is who do you to me, it came down to picking this game. I was like, who do I trust more to make? Notre Dame's defense is very good, even with the injuries. It's very good. Georgia does not have the weapons on the outside that they've had in years past, and throwing an inexperienced quarterback back there, I think, is a very big advantage for Notre Dame.
I could be completely wrong here, but Carson Beck, Gunnar Stockton, all those dudes, they were having a big quarterback battle, and Carson Beck was the one emerged. But it didn't seem to me like there was a huge talent advantage or discrepancy there that, I think Gunnar Stockton was a high recruit and he's plenty talented. So with 3 weeks to prep, we should probably expect him to be decent.
Notre Dame doesn't play on grass. They haven't played on grass for a little bit.
Yeah, like 5 or 6 years, but I don't know, maybe 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is the most interesting game, right?
It's a fun game.
Just because all the players that are out, you're just sitting there like Kirby Smart, much better coach. You're like, well, the better quarterback, a better run game, or better running back and quarterback reside with Notre Dame. It's just a very interesting matchup to me from X's and O's and coaches standpoint, talent on the field with all the injuries that each team's had to go through. It makes for a fascinating game.
I'll say this. If Georgia's going to be kept out of the national championship game, it's got to be by Notre Dame. I can't see Boise or Penn State stopping Georgia.
I could see. I mean, I'm not ready to Georgia. Like I said,
I just feel like Notre Dame has the thing that Jeremiah Love brings is that explosive element that Singleton and Allen don't bring for Penn State, and that is going to be the thing. I think Riley Leonard. How do you compare him with Drew Aller this year? Do you think he worse thrower, better runner?
Yeah, but I trust him though more.
Riley Leonard.
I do, just because Aller can have moments where he sucks.
It's true.
Yeah. Well, that's part of my reasoning. I think
like the interception last week that Leonard threw, it was a batted ball. That happens. So it wasn't like it was a poor decision or something.
Aller's ceiling is higher, like explosive play.
But his decision making is shaky at times.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
He's got a little more lawn chair in him than Riley Leonard does. Still,
Aller's actually shown a few wheels.
Yeah, he's gotten a lot better. Yeah, but there's still some lawn chair in there.
Folks, that's our show. Currently, Georgia Tech, the Rambling Wreck, currently taking a lot of piss to the face because Diego pissing Pavia and Vanderbilt cashing one of our locks. Vanderbilt 35.
Is that rain coming down or piss?
That's piss. That's piss. Dundee's on the look. I lived in Hollywood for a long time. I got the sprinklers going, plugged into some piss, just like you're at Preakness and all those porta potties there, just full of piss. We just funnel that right through that Hollywood rain machine.
Pissing on everyone. That was an easy play. You got one guy I'm so glad he's back next year. I was gonna have a hard time doing the show. I was thinking about just quitting and following what he was with the Edmonton Eskimos or something.
Well, if we don't get 15K, you might have to do that 1 year.
That's true.
Anyway.
That's true. I might just follow him personally like a stalker.
Pretty close right now. Let's be
hanging in the fucking van. What's up, Diego? Huh? What's up, man? This fucking guy, this lunatic's following me around again. Folks, give Patty C a follow on Twitter at PattyC831. NC Nick's on Twitter at NC__NICK. I'm on Twitter at TheColBD. Remember, 15K or we're gone. Catch us at the local dive behind the scenes. You're not gonna know. It's gonna be like you ever played the game Scotland Yard?
Classic.
Remember
Mr. X,
Xavier McDaniel. All right. Shout out to the X-Man, Xavier McDaniel. Him and Oakley had a great brawl back in the day. Anyway, till next time, folks. Check out the college basketball experience. We'll be back live tonight talking college hoops for tomorrow. Great slate. And also check out the college baseball experience and the sports gambling podcast and the FCS college football experience. Don't forget the FCS and D3 national championships coming up next week's show. We will talk about them. Until next time, folks, this is the college football experience. You better start thinking about yours. And we are out of here.
Run and shoot. We can really run and shoot. And the whole team's looking and the whole world's looking with the cameras. Run and shoot. We can really run and shoot. And you know